around you standing. And I'll just go onto the other camera. And as always, we'll start off just with some mobilization. So I'm just loosening up a little bit, getting the spine moving, taking your feet shoulder width apart. Think of the spine as a central rotational axis down the center of the body. And we just start to move from the hips and the waist. And just let the shoulders relax, the arms relax. Breathing just easy in and out through the nose. Soft in the knees, soft in the ankles, just so you can get that rotation through the knee, the ankle, the hip. And just tapping, letting the elbows bend too, so that you're just tapping across the belly. And tapping the back of the hand just on the lower back there. So I'm just showing you the lower back. You don't have to turn around, but just tapping the back of your hand on the lower back. Getting the blood flow. Breath just light, soft, easy. Now gradually just slowing this down into water waves. So we just go a little bit lower in the knees, a little bit lower in the lower body. And then create that little bit of resistance. So it's like you're running your hands through water around you. Pay attention also behind you. So that little spiral movement of the hand behind, scooping back. Softening the elbows. Really go as slow as you can. Breathing easy. And take a rest when you're ready. Just bring your feet hip width. Take a moment just to stand tall. And then we'll go shoulder width again. A little bit more bend in the knees into the spinal cord breathing. So expanding and breathing in. Here we're breathing with the movement, but nice, soft, easy breathing. And then tucking the pelvis underneath, breathing out. And breathing in. Opening up the throat, looking up. And breathing out, tucking the pelvis. And once you've found the rhythm, just following your rhythm, your breath. You don't need to follow anyone else on the screen or me. Just find your rhythm. Think of it as a nice morning wake up stretch. And even though you're breathing with the movement, the breathing is still light and soft. Not breathing too much air. Also not breathing too little air. And we'll do 2 more. take a rest. And again, just take a moment, just where you come, hip width apart, stand tall. See some of you drinking your tea, grab some tea, grab some water if you need to. And then we'll go back out, shoulder width. And one of my favorites, dog wags the tail. So just shifting the pelvis side to side. Get that pelvis shifting side to side first, and then free up the upper body so the spine waves on top of the pelvis. Just keep it nice and easy. The hip leads, the spine follows, and the head is at the top of the spine. Shoulders relaxed, keeping tall. Keep that spine lengthened. And again, with the breath, you just breathe in lightly, just not having to think about how you're breathing with this. Just let it be light and soft. And then slow that down, slow it down, slow it down. And then let's have a good shake. So start off just by shaking the wrists and pumping the legs. And if you want to also, you can start to tap the heels into the ground if you want a little bit more vibration. And let's do a couple of cleansing and clearing breaths here now. So that is just, all that means is just taking a slightly fuller breath in. So it's nice and calm through the nose. And letting go. You only need a couple. Too many and we'll start to feel lightheaded, just a few. But have a good old shake. Shake as much or as little as you feel you need to. Really let the shoulders go. Good old shake out. And then stop. Feel the tingles. Give yourself a moment balancing. Good. Have a little walk around if you need a walk around. Have a little drink if you need a drink. And then when you're ready, let's just do a little bit of centering and focusing on that idea of the true deep breath. It's always important to remind people that when we think about a deep breath, we don't necessarily need to take a big breath. So find your comfortable standing position again, shoulder width apart, maybe a little bit narrower, and then just come down to your belly button. Find your belly button, and then come 3 fingers down from the belly button, and take the back of the fingers like that, and just put a little bit of pressure just at that point, just below the belly button. And my microphone cable is right there, so I'm just, hopefully I haven't pulled that out. So a little bit of pressure just below the belly button. If anything feels uncomfortable, stop. This is not about doing anything that feels uncomfortable, but just that little bit of pressure down just below the belly button. Keep tall, so keep tall and lifted through the spine. And just slightly slow the breath and make it slightly fuller. So we're just taking that little bit of control over the breath. And see how this area responds. Think about how this responds. We're not doing anything in this area. We're not actively activating anything down here. We're just noticing how this area responds. What are the physical sensations as you're breathing in? And as you're breathing out. And once you've done a few fuller breaths, just go to just breathing easy, just breathing light, just breathing normally. And still see how you feel this area respond. So see if you can get that sense of, as you're breathing in, the pressure, what we call the intra-abdominal pressure, is just gently pushing the fingers out. So you feel that little bit of pressure down there. And as you breathe out, pressure goes, so the fingers just sink back into the belly. So as you're breathing in, fingers push out a little bit. As you're breathing out, fingers push in. Really important that you're not actually physically trying to activate this area. I'm not pushing my belly in and out. Think of it as a response, a reaction to the in-breath and the out-breath. And now what you might want to have in mind is almost like breathing a thin thread of air all the way down. Now remember, we physically can't breathe air into the belly, hopefully. But what is happening is that as you're breathing in, diaphragm contracts, and that will create pressure in this abdomen area. So that's what you feel, that response to the in-breath. So breathing into the belly is not using your muscles down here, it's the reaction to that in-breath. So very subtle movement. Good, have a little walk around if you need to, shake your hands out a little bit if you need to. And then we're just going to place our hands on the side of our ribs. So really find the lower ribs, right down the bottom of the ribs, and also get your thumbs in the, can you see okay there, in the ribs in the back. So you can almost like put a little bit of pressure on the rib cage. Again, really keep tall through the spine, because what we don't want to do is start hunching the back like this. So keep tall, lengthening through the spine. And again, just to start with, slightly fuller breath. So we slightly slow the breath, slightly fuller lungs. This is just to really accentuate the sensations, the physical sensations. So we're focusing on that physical sensation as you breathe in, and the physical sensation as you breathe out. So just slightly exaggerating. So a slightly fuller breath in, it can be calm, it can be relaxed, just fuller. And see if you can get the sensation again as you're breathing in. So almost like the ribs are gently pushing out to the side. So you're breathing across the body. So the ribs are gently pushing out to the side. And also what I think is most probably the most important thing that most people are not doing is breathing into the back. So see if you can feel that where you've got your thumbs here in the lower ribs, can you breathe into the thumbs, into the back? So again, we're just doing deliberate, slow, full breaths just to exaggerate the movement. So see if you can breathe into the thumbs, into the back. Breathe into the kidneys. So again, we're just tuning into the physical sensations. We're not physically doing anything in these areas. It's how these areas respond to your breathing in and your breathing out. And now still have that in mind, those sensations, but just breathing normally. So just breathing easily, just light and soft, in and out through the nose. And then just take a rest again, shake your arms out. Have a little stretch if you need a stretch. Just want to go back to this one and show you the importance of where your rib cage is in terms of the pelvis. So don't hurt yourself, don't cause any problems hopefully, but what I want you to do is do exactly the same as you did there, but then just flare these front ribs out, put a little bit of compression in the lower back without hurting anything. If anything hurts, just stop. But I just want to exaggerate what happens if we're out of alignment and you can't feel. Now everything is, for me, everything is locked here. There's no movement, no breath into the back. Everything pushes forwards. And then just bring that rib cage, actually move around a little bit if you need to, just bring that rib cage so it's balanced over the pelvis. You might feel as if you're rammed in your back a little bit to start off with. We've then got to remember to lengthen the neck, but just bring that rib cage balanced over the pelvis. So now that diaphragm has room to move down as you breathe in. The ribs will move outwards, and you'll also importantly get that breath into the back. Much easier. So quite often what we do is we think, oh, I need to have good posture. So we stand up tall, lock everything out, or I need to engage my core. We pull everything in here and we just over tightening stuff. So it comes down to all of the stuff that we do in Qigong when we talk about strength and softness. So where we need to be strong is in that standing posture, is in the spine and the back of the body and the hips and the legs. But where we can soften is down the front of the body, so that then when you're doing your knocking, when we're doing spinal cord, when we're doing the lateral movement, you can really tune into the balance between strength and softness. So think of posture not just as locking everything out. Think of it as that balance between alignment and relaxation, strength and softness. And that's not just when you're standing, it's when you're walking, it's when you're running, it's when you're moving, it's when you're cooking. Just have that in mind. The other thing to have in mind, which again from a Qigong point of view is a really nice visualization, is that all movement starts from the center, your energy center. So the point that we're focusing on there, where you can feel that true deep breath going to, is where when we start to run or start to walk, the movement comes from. So I'm not pushing that center forwards, I'm just aligning myself with gravity, and movement is coming from that point. Bearing that in mind, let's do a little bit of a flow. So a little bit of a Qigong flow. Let's start off with feet shoulder width apart. And just start to move that center of gravity forwards and backwards a little bit. So if I'm just moving to the side to show you, all I'm doing is a very subtle move forwards, very subtle move backwards. And notice how, almost with this tiny movement, you have a micro movement of spinal cord. So I'm not locked like this. There's that little bit of shift. As I go back, the weight shifts forward slightly, the upper body shifts forward. As I shift forward, So just that very subtle movement, your center of gravity moving forwards and backwards. And then on the shift backwards, relax the arms, relax the shoulders. On that shift backwards, just let the arms flow up. Elbows soft. On the shift forwards, let the arms float down. So you just get that very subtle, it's almost unnoticeable shift backwards, shift forwards. And this makes this flow very much a whole body movement rather than just an arm movement. Quite often we just focus on the arms moving because that's potentially what we see. But get that very subtle rock forwards and backwards. And then find your rhythm, find your breath, and breathing in just lightly, softly as the arms flow up and as the body expands. Breathing out. And let your breath guide the movement. Keep the breathing as light and soft as possible without it feeling as if you're running out of air. Expanding as you breathe in, softening, relaxing as you breathe out. And notice the lull at the top of the breath. Where does that change over, that transition, smooth, easy transition at the top. Lull at the bottom of the breath, transition at the bottom. Think of that transition as you watch like a wave roll up on the beach. It doesn't just stop and then return. There's that ease of motion at the top and the bottom of the breath. Also, as we go from night to morning and morning to night, that transition, it just doesn't suddenly go dark and then suddenly get light. There's a transition. And that's what makes this movement a flow. There's no end, no beginning to the movement, it's just flow. We're going to move now into a standing posture. So we just bring our palms just facing towards that lower area, in Qigong, the lower dantian or the dantian, and just holding that little bit of good tension. So I'm not tightening everything up, but what I want to do is to hold this position, but still feel that flow through the body. So I'm not just locking everything into position. So you might even feel that very gentle rock forwards and backwards. So there's an element, there's an amount of tension in the arms, but not over tight. And you're just breathing lightly, breathing softly. Holding the position but not the breath. And then palms facing the ground as you're lifting the arms up. When you get to shoulder height, rotating the shoulders, the elbows, and then coming overhead. You can look overhead and down the center line. Palms facing the ground, rotating, pulling down the sky, drawing the energy from the sky into your center, drawing the energy up from the ground and from the sky into your center, connecting your thumbs, interlocking your thumbs, resting on the lower dantian, bringing the feet together. Letting the elbows just soften into the sides, closing your eyes and thinking of that combination of strength and softness, balance, alignment with flexibility and relaxation. Bamboo in the wind. And when you're ready, just taking that slightly fuller, calm breath in through the nose, opening your eyes at the top of the breath, stepping out, giving yourself a very gentle brush down, head, back of the neck, arms, lower back. Ready, hopefully, for whatever the day ahead has in store for you. Thank you for joining. I enjoyed that session. As always, I could stand there forever just doing a little bit of more bamboo at the wind. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you on Thursday morning again, 8 o'clock, for a bit more of a movement session. Thursday evening, we've got a webinar, free webinar, 8 till 9. I'll put the links below this on Facebook and YouTube. For Oxygen Advantage Instructor Training. It's a free webinar just talking about our retreat in Scotland. And on Saturday afternoon, 2 till 3, we've got the Unlock the Power of Breath much overdue workshop as well. So I'll put the links for that in as well. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for joining. See you hopefully on Thursday. Bye. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.